The finish line. This lesson happened in a span of 1 year. Basically, my 8-year marriage has her is breaking down, my wife Danielle. I don't know if I can use her real name, and I married almost 10 years ago. And there was that instant hit and we felt we were soulmates. This belied an uglier side, namely that is a very volatile and tumultuous relationship. Right now, I'll admit I have anger management issues and Danielle is very feisty and can be confrontational, hence explosiveness. The problems we went through really got bad in the last 6 months of last year. 8 months after we'd moved to a new house to see if that could breathe some better air into our marriage, regardless of me being the primary breadwinner. Danielle is on a 2-year career break. I became very lazy and Danielle, always the opposite, took the reins of the marriage and in a way became the husband. Do-it-yourself, gardening, cooking, cleaning, kids run, shopping, etc. Fast forward to February 15th. She just comes out with, "I can't do this anymore. It's over. We need to separate." Far from being shocked, because of the nature of the marriage at that point, I actually thought this would be a viable solution and agreed with her, thinking it would only take a few weeks. I moved out a few days later to stay with my parents and we agreed that I'd come over Fridays to Sundays to look after and spend time with the kids. She was free to go out with her friends, see her folks, and not have to do all the stuff she'd been doing which, in her own words, I've been slowly disappearing. While you sit around doing nothing. This is where I got stupid and ignorant whereby I'd go over and she'd often say, "I'm going to stay with my sister," or "Me and my girlfriends are going out tonight, I won't be back till tomorrow." This carries on for 7 weeks. April 6th, Saturday night I'm just looking on Facebook and a friend's mutual page where she'd uploaded some photos from a party back in late February. I do a double take when I see one, solitary photo of Danielle, all dressed up looking very attractive and some rough-looking guy in a suit. I know this guy. I've met him once, and that was when he came over to our home in late December 2nd years ago to do some surveying on our house. I don't want to assume anything, but my heart was beating so fast I could feel the anxiety building up in my stomach and chest. I call her, "We need to talk now, you have to come home now." She arrives 15 minutes later and I have it out with her. "What's going on between you and this guy Darren?" I don't want to go through the exact conversation, but she admitted she'd been seeing him since we split up. 5 days after I moved out to be exact, and she rationalized it thus: "We are technically separated, so it doesn't matter if it was first day after." Long story short, she says she isn't going to stop seeing him. He's a nice guy. Makes her feel good and wanted, and she's been missing this for years. And that he is into her as much as she's into him. She says we are dead as a couple but need to be strong for our kids. Sorry for rambling, but thinking about this now is bringing back some triggers. But to date, we are still separated. The only way I can see my kids is to go back home at weekends. Call me a doormat, but I've agreed to this, which allows her up to go and say her BF's house. Can't do anything about this, but it ruined me. When I first saw this guy I thought no freaking way. He's punching above his weight with my wife. I feel like I'm in no man's land. This situation has totally paralyzed me, and I admit I feel lost. I still love my wife. I still fancy her like crazy. I think she's having a midlife crisis. So, do I let this all blow over? File for divorce? Do I move back to our home? Tearing me up right now. So, I don't know if this is an affair, or infidelity, or cheating because we are separated. All I know is that they met before he came to our home in early December at a school Christmas party. He is 44. Divorced and has a son who is 1 year older than my own eldest. Before then, I'm almost 100% sure she hadn't had any face-to-face contact with him. I was actually at home on the day he came round and I never saw any over-friendliness between them or any flirting. I do know that he left his business card with us that day. I'm pretty sure, and she has trickled truth enough over the months, that she saw him as someone to talk to, and probably knowing her, complained about the state of our marriage, the way I was toward her. I'll admit, pretty crappy over the months and years. And he saw that as his opportunity. White knight syndrome, anyone. I got obsessed with the other man. His name is Darren. Again, I don't know legally if I can name him. I tried to find out everything about him. From what Danielle tells me, he used to be in the army from about mid-90s, and then when he went civvy, he got into the building trade. He is 44, divorced, has 1 son and lives just 5 minutes drive from us. I also know, whether this of any importance or not, but he has a reputation. I don't want to go and explain exactly what, but if you can read between the lines, whether this swayed my wife, I don't know. I've done all the I need to know details talks with her. Bad move really. And she has confirmed the reputation is correct, but she gets angry when I wind her up about it and says, "It's not just about that. The only people who know about our situation, her mom, her 2 sisters, unknown friends of hers, my parents and maybe 4 friends, a couple of work colleagues. It's been going on for 6 months now, and sometimes I get a glimmer of hope that things are not that good between them. 1. Sometimes, she will stay at home with me and our kids at the weekend and not go to the other man. 2. He rarely texts or calls her now, one thing that drives her crazy. Like, she once texted him 12 times in a row without any answer and she went ballistic. 3. Couple of times recently she has come home early either at lunchtime or afternoon, after staying at his on Friday, looking all glum and moody because all he wanted to do was eat takeout and watch dumb action shows. 4. Back in June, she tried to end it with him. Comments: separation is a marriage killer, especially when there are no rules, boundaries, etc. The purpose of the separation in your wife's eyes is to be free of the constraints of the marriage. 1. Move back home. 2. Get legal advice. 3. Expose them. 4. Get your finances in order. 5. Do the 180. 6. She has no respect for you. Right now, the M is over and that is how you need to start playing this. Don't beg, don't plead, in fact stop asking her for anything. OP responds: Danielle and I get on quite well now. Well, no one try finish the other. We have long talks and discuss what we can do, what we could have done, and last weekend we had one such conversation. She didn't go to Darren's, she was at our marital home weekend with the kids and myself. And she asked, I often think, we should have split up years ago when came along. We were fighting like cats and dogs then. And to be honest, I didn't disagree with her, just felt a complete feeling of I'm the blame. I actually said to her, I've lost my wife and my kids, what the hell have I been doing? And she said, OP, actions not words. The first 2 months for me were sheer hell, as I'm sure they are for everyone else going through this. It is this period where any thoughts of winning Danielle back or competing for her were not even possible for me. I just thought, she's with other man now, she's made her choice, he's giving her what I haven't, can't, what's the point? 7 months on, I don't really harbor any bad feelings toward the OM, he's single. My wife's attractive, he listened to her and took his chance. Hated him at first with a passion, got obsessive about him but now, wouldn't term him as a piece of crap other man. However, I think, deep down, Danielle knows that whatever they have is doomed. They see each other. 2 to 3 weekends out of 4 and it's shown no signs of progressing. Apparently, according to her, his mates have said to him, got lucky with that one, that married bird's a real catch for you. But I can't see him taking her on and our 2 kids as well as his son. Like everyone has said, she's a monkey, not letting go of one vine before another is in reach. She has me for the family issues and OM for bonding. 1. I guess in a way, I've accepted that he might actually be a good partner for my wife if we split. She certainly doesn't get the fights, hassle with him. He has his own son and looks after him. If he was just a single guy, no ties or baggage, I'd be far less forgiving. 2. Haven't checked but I know someone who got their decree absolute in under 8 months. 3. I'm just holding the mirror up to myself. I've been a good father but a bad husband. 4. Looks-wise, I'm 6 feet, now 180 pounds, dropped 30 pounds through stress. Anxiety. Full head of hair. I don't look aged for 44. Thing is here, I always used to be quite good around women. I guess for whatever reason, I've lost that ability or the stress I've endured with my marriage to Danielle has ground it away. I do feel uncomfortable around women now, that's for sure. And yes, you're betting married women by Christmas theory. I'm intrigued yet not convinced. But whatever, just for the record, OM is same age as me but, given his physical assets, looks every one of his years now. 5. I don't see what else can be done. It's now 5:30 p.m. I'm going over to our marital home in about 1 hour as she has invited me over for dinner and it's time we talked about moving things forward. Long night last night. Didn't get to bed until 3 a.m. Danielle and I finally drew out what we need to do and we've agreed, mutually, to divorce. I went over, she cooked dinner, we played with our 2 boys and then we cracked open a bottle of wine and sat and talked. It was all very amicable. She pointed out problems she thought were the cause of her to leave me, hook up with other man. But, at the end of it all, I discovered that it's nothing really to do with other man. Our marriage had been toxic for a longer time than either of us wanted to admit. She felt that she had stopped loving me as a man probably 2 years ago. A year after our youngest was born. She felt since then, she'd been looking after 3 children ever since. I couldn't really disagree with any of her comments and suggested that we shouldn't have let this carry on even further back. Years ago, it was obvious that year that the marriage wasn't working. The fights we had were horrendous and I will hold my hand up and admit that I was and have been violent toward Danielle since. It's a cowardly thing to do, and one of my friends put it bluntly. Once you hit a woman, and especially your wife, it's all over, man. I feel terribly ashamed and guilty and crap for this. I asked her about other man's intentions, and she says I have him wrong. He did not pursue her because he wanted to take her away from me. She admits she had her head turned by him, probably 2 weeks after she met him, which would have been last week in November last year. She said she was hit by a moment of sheer terror that, if she stayed with me, she was going to end up in a mental home or we end up with killing each other. Following her initial meeting with him, she claims she really liked him, even though he's not a great deal to look at. She subsequently heard about other man's reputation, and that just added to the attraction. She was brutally honest with me, and I guess that's what I needed to hear. She says he wants more from her as just a once-a-week duck buddy, but didn't want to push things, because she tells me he actually was worried about my well-being and slow descent into depression. I didn't know what to think about this, but still said, well, let's see how long he hangs around after we're divorced. A few times, she was in tears when we talked about me and what had happened to me steadily over the years. D, what happened to you? OP, what happened to the edgy, cool guy in the office that I totally fell head over heels in love with? It's like you've steadily detached from me, the kids, and outlive ever since. Me, being married to you, wore me down. D, you know, since I met Darren, there've been a couple of occasions when I desperately wanted you to fight for me. Fight for our marriage. Do something. Can you remember? This also upset me because I know the occasions she was talking about. Back in March, I was at our home and she was getting ready to go out with OM. I commented to her how gorgeous she looked, and it still killed me to see her like this. She asked me, so, why are you letting me to go into the arms of another man? I remember all I did was look at the floor, dejected, unable to say anything except, have a nice night. It's pathetic. And she was in tears about it again. D, you really couldn't see. That was a sign, could you? I was urging you, OP, to man up and grow a pair, for duck's sake. The only thing I can offer in my pathetic defense is that I didn't find out about other man until 7 weeks after the day we separated. I got into that whole mindset of, oh, okay, she's gone. We've split up. She's met someone else. She's moved on. I fell apart in the week and month that followed. I became obsessed with her and other man. I became obsessed with the other man. Constant mind movies. All I could do was summon whatever I had left and still be strong for my kids. Unfortunately, this meant going to our marital home, while Danielle went to other man's house. I accepted that as much as I accepted it's over. She's got someone else. All's fair in love and war. I asked Danielle last night why she didn't just come out with the fact she'd met someone anyway, and she said given my volatile and fragile emotional and mental state, she didn't want to cause me any more distress than she knew it would. And I posted on another thread about me going to confront other men, only for Danielle to point out it would end rather badly for me if I did. She knows me only too well. 1. We are both in agreement that the marriage was failing badly a long time ago. When our first child was born, the cracks were starting to show then. We really should have called it a day, but then number 2 came along, and I think papering over the cracks was evident as from few years ago. Things have been bad. Last 8 months of last year were horrible. In fact, I actually said to Danielle the other night when we had dinner, I'm surprised you didn't leave me years ago. 2. It is a lot of my fault for not doing anything to stop her, but as I've outlined previously, when I found out about her and OM, it numbed me. Never thought that such emotional pain could turn so physical. So, the fact that I was trying to keep myself together in whatever capacity would leave little chance of me doing anything to get her back. 3. Darren the OM, I'm sure he is totally indifferent to me, but he was aware that I had problems with what happened, and that is shown on the occasions at various weekends when I've gone out with Danielle and the boys and he hasn't kicked off. If I can give another example, we went away for 3 days at Easter, which Danielle planned, and then she almost did a U-turn by saying, I'm not sure this is a good idea. I'll have to clear it with Darren. What I'm saying is, both Danielle and Darren now feel they are a couple in some kind of relationship. However, I do agree with you that he was a player initially, telling her he didn't want anything physical from my wife. But he definitely put that pressure on her back in December, I'm sure. 4. Yes, she has been physical toward me on a number of occasions. Nothing major, just typical chick stuff. Now, as I look back, during our initial separation, she always said to me that I had to get over me being convinced he was trying to steal my wife off me. It was one of those friendships that moved into a physical, romantic situation. It was made worse for me that I felt physically or emotionally unable to win my wife back or even tries to compete for her. I'd felt she was gone, moved on, and therefore I wasn't going to humiliate myself by even trying. She says now, when we look back at this period, that she felt very discarded and disappointed that I didn't want her back, or would even fight for her. It's a tricky one. We are both moving on. Divorce is going along without any major issues. Except financially, of course. I still see her every weekend when I pick up the kids, and she isn't with her first OM anymore. Few months later, we are a month or so from divorce. She isn't seeing anyone. She still lives in our marital home with our 2 kids while I have my own apartment. A nice BMW. I'm switch dating between a red-headed, tattooed, pierced 29-year-old and a 37-year-old accountant who I work with, and in 2 months I'm going on vacation with some buddies for 3 weeks in July for the World Cup. My wife, Danielle, as much as a pedestal I put her up on, I love very much, and I still cry over her when I think about her. Not because of what she did, but because of her generally good character. Then good times we had and memories that come flooding back. We get on a lot better now. Each morning I drive to work, I call home at 8 a.m. She lets me talk to the kids through speakerphone and I give them all a funny, silly daily weather and news report. It's one of those situations of can't live with you scenarios. I miss my STBX, even though I see her every week. I know now that I did the wrong thing. I looked on her as a trophy wife. When I first met her, she was one of those women men think I've got no chance with her. The mistake I made, treating her more as a wife and mother, and not a woman, which is what the OM totally identified and acted upon. I understand it now. To be honest, I haven't actually man up or turned into alpha. I know who I am and what I am, emotionally, mentally and physically now. I struggled with it for a while, comparing myself, but I'm not like my wife's other men. I don't have to be. I've got my own set of attributes. I'm okay financially and health-wise. I go to the gym. I still like boxing even though at my age getting hit isn't too clever, so now the weather's better. I play golf. I go cycling. I drive my car. I like to stay in most weekends and have a few drinks. Cook for myself. Watch movies, however. I'm very aware that one can get too comfortable in their own space and cocoon. I've got a couple of female friends that are ready to start a relationship with me, but I'm seeing them as friends only. When she separated from me and almost immediately started seeing OM number one, I was naturally crushed. Then the acceptance phase hit me. I actually started to think that maybe she deserved a guy like this. I remember, maybe last November, I went over one night and we sat drinking and talking, and I broke down, and I remember saying to her, I've lost my wife and my family, and I'm to blame. I've often heard the phrase, a happy woman, wife doesn't cheat, and in this case, I can identify with it. I put Danielle up on a pedestal, and we were together for 8 years. Ups and downs, but these days are getting easier and easier, and if it wasn't for our 2 kids, she would just be someone I used to know. So sad that it actually hurts. My comment, ignoring the problem in OP's relationship, going out and having fun with friends is the first step outside of a relationship. And you can't treat your partner as a celebrity, or else they will treat you like a fan. Story 2. On October 25th I found out that my husband of 9 years had an affair. A couple of months before I caught him, I found some text messages and he admitted that he had feelings for her but nothing happened. I had a gut feeling that he wasn't telling me something. As I had asked him multiple times if anything had happened, he of course said no. Fast forward to October 25th I went through his phone and found a saved message of her bare bone. I confronted him on it and he finally admitted that they did sleep together one time. Whether it was more than one time, I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter how many times, it still happened. I know that our marriage wasn't sunshine and rainbows all of the time, but I never saw it coming. I had no idea that we had so many problems. Looking back, I can see where we weren't connecting, but that does not justify him going to someone else. He should have talked to me. We are working on our marriage. Some days are good, some are bad. Today is a bad day. I don't feel like he is trying to win me back. I feel like I am working on this harder than he is. I went and bought the book, His Needs, Her Needs, and we are reading it together nightly and talking after about what we felt as we were reading it. It seems to be helping some. I guess I just need some words of encouragement. I need to know I'm not being stupid for staying. I love my husband more than anything, besides my kids, and I want to forgive him. More than anything I want to forgive him. Some days I think I have forgiven him, then I have a day like today, where I am just so angry. I am so angry that he has done this to our family. We have 2 young children, and I feel like he didn't just do this to me, he did it to them too. I told him last night how I was feeling and he understands that I need more from him. I do feel like we are making progress, but you have those days where you doubt everything. Today I told myself that today is going to be a good day, and so far, it is. I am trying to block out anything that is not positive. Seems to be working so far. My H told me that he felt like we don't have a spark anymore. He told me that he loves me and so on. Is there any way to salvage this? How can we get that spark back? Weeks later, I can't seem to stop myself from thinking about their relationship. Everything I do, I seem to wonder, did she do this, or did she do that? I'm not sure I even want to know. It was a result of what was lacking in our marriage. I realize that. So really it isn't even about her. I find that I have really good days and then I crash and have a really bad day. I know this is all normal, but how can I get these visions out of my head? I try to chant, in my head, he chose to stay with me. He chose to stay with me. But then I think, I shouldn't have been a choice. We are trying to move forward, but I feel like I can't move forward with these thoughts almost constantly swimming around in my head. I am just so frustrated, more with myself than anything. So, the H and I talked last night. He told me that he didn't feel the same way about me anymore. But here is the confusing part to me. He says he loves me and that if thinks about me with another man and having a relationship with another man he gets sick to his stomach and jealous. He wants to work it out, but I just don't know what to do anymore. He says he can't picture his life without me. It's like he is contradicting himself. I feel like I have gone above and beyond doing things to show him that I love him. I think he looks at those things thinking, that was nice. But that's it. I don't think it stirs up any other emotion. I love my H, and I do not want our family to fall apart. But how long do I do this to myself? It's almost like he has no motivation to make this work. For example, at the end of Mar, we were talking about taking a trip to Panama City to watch a volleyball tournament and spending the weekend there. Just the two of us. Which we have not done since we had kids 5 years ago. I asked him if he still wanted to go. I think we need to go. He just kind of shrugs and says sure. You know, in that high-pitched voice that you know they are just saying it because that's what you want to hear. Let's be clear. I'm not stupid and I am not blind. I can tell when he doesn't want to do something. But what I don't understand is, knowing that we need some time together. Just us. He hesitates. A month later, we have decided to work on our marriage because we still love each other. He has told me basically that he loves me but not in love with me. BS. I know, and he is not happy. He feels like he is living a lie. I feel I have been doing everything I can to work on myself for us. I have been reading online and bought 4 books. While I am doing everything I know, he does nothing. I mean nothing. He knows I am doing these things and he just watches. I confronted him about this the other night and he told me that he has no motivation to work on us. We have our first counseling session on Tuesday. I feel like I am losing the fight. I am starting to think that this might be a lost cause. I told him that I can't be the only one that fights for us. I can't be the only one doing all the work while he sits back and observes. What can I do to get him motivated? I just don't get it. I am so sad all of the time now. And that is not me, not my personality. I am usually pretty happy, always smiling and laughing. Now I feel like I'm just getting by day. It's hard because we have 2 young children, 5 and 4. I almost want to leave for a while just so he can see that he won't be happier without us. The problem is I have nowhere to go. My family lives 16 hours away. Besides that, my parents don't know. Only my sister. If my dad found out, he would hate him, and if we stay together. I don't want to deal with that. I'll tell them if I absolutely have to. I do check his phones, periodically. If I check them daily, I get obsessed and I can't live like that. I do believe he has ended it. He only goes to work and comes home. There are no outside activities without me right now. We started counseling last week and, in that hour we were there, our therapist said that we were emotionally disconnected. I agree. I find it hard to emotionally connect with someone that I trusted with everything I am, who lied and betrayed me. I am trying, I really am, but when is enough, enough? Do I just keep working on it until he makes the decision? Do I even make it up to him to make that decision? I can't imagine my life without us being a family. I can't imagine not growing old with him. I just don't know if he feels the same. 2 months later, told him to leave. My H moved out today. He had an A, both E and P. I never knew he was unhappy. He never talked to me about it. He never made an effort to fix it either. I am almost convinced that he has depression. He is never happy with anything. Not just us, but almost anything. Nothing is ever good enough. The roller coaster got to be too much for me. I would be thinking that we are having a good day. He wasn't. I told him that he needed to go until he figures himself out. As much as it hurts to have him gone, it hurts more to have him here. But not really be here. Our kids, 5 and 4, don't know yet. What am I supposed to say? How am I supposed to tell them? They ask for him all of the time. My heart is breaking for them. They don't understand. I don't understand. Half a year later, after the separation, we talked a bit. Looking back, he never told me why he was unhappy. He just told me that he doesn't love me like a husband should. Like, I love you but not in love. Anyways, we decide to work on our relationship. The only thing is, I did all the work. He didn't do a thing. He says he did, and I asked him to give me an example of what he did to make us work, me and him without the kids. He came up with nothing. He told me that just by being here he was trying to make it work. So, the day after Father's Day, which was a great day, he tells me that he isn't happy. So, I take the kids and leave to my family 1,000 plus miles away for the rest of the summer. My thoughts were, if I leave, he will finally see what it is like without his family around and to really think about us and our family we created. That backfired. I found out that he contacted another woman while we were away. So, we come home for the kids to start school. So, now here we are and he is on the fence. He doesn't know what to do. He is afraid to try with me and it does not work out, and he is afraid that he is making the biggest mistake of his life. I am more than willing to work out our issues, but I now realize that if he isn't, no matter what I do, it will not work if he isn't 100% committed to making it work. I know that our marriage won't be the same, but I truly believe it can be better than it ever was. We can be happy. He is so caught up in this feeling he has for another woman. So, I finally know what I have to do. I vowed that I would not be the one to file for divorce because I am not the one who wants it. However, I cannot allow him to do this to me any longer. I can't wrap my head around him not knowing if he wants to keep our family together or not. How can you not know that? So, I called a lawyer this morning and I have a meeting set up with them in about a week. I have no idea what to ask, what to expect, anything. I am so sad, so heartbroken and so scared. I know I will be okay, but I am still scared. I love him, even after all he has done, put me through, I love him. Days later, I gave my WH 2 weeks to find a place, as him being here is way too hard for me. We haven't told the kids, 6, 5, anything besides mommy and daddy needs some time apart. We, of course, will tell them together, but I want him to tell them. He is the one that wants the D. He is basically leaving his family for the other woman. I think we are going to tell him a couple of days before he leaves. I'm nervous, scared, and basically fighting a losing battle trying to save our marriage. He refuses MC. His head is so far up his back that I don't think he gets what he is doing. My comment, he's gone, to him, you are not worth the work. Find someone who thinks you are worth it. I took a mini break this weekend, and I'll upload a lot more frequent this week. Sub and prepare for the uploads this week.